Listen, I'd like to think that my opinion is very unbiased because I've owned 5 or 6 Canon bodies. I've owned 2 Nikon bodies, about 3 different Sony bodies, and Blackmagics. And I live by the term, marry the lens, date the bodies. But I gotta ask myself a legitimate, real question. Who is the Canon R5 really for? Today, that's what we're gonna talk about. What's going on, guys? If this is your first time on this channel is about the business side of content creation. It's about turning your passion into profit. And I am your guy by the name of Ty, that's Black by popular demand. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the EOS R5 because I recently did a video showing how it doesn't really compete with the A7S III on video standards simply because the 8K is not really usable. It's not really functional. And a lot of people in the comments says, oh, it's a hoax. Oh, people are using it. That's BS. But every real YouTuber that I watch that are not just holding the camera talking about specs, but are using it in real world scenarios and situations, they're having a lot of problem with the overheating. And it's an issue and it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's really not a big deal. However, as a diehard video guy, you just need to understand that you're not going to be able to use this as your workhorse 8K camera. Fine. So if 8K was something that was just added to it to get people's attention, great. Canon, you have successfully done that. But once you peel that layer of the onion back, who is the camera for? Being that 8K is what they show as the top headliner and video guys can't fully take advantage of that, maybe 4K at 120. And when you start looking at it like that, the A7S III makes a better option. Then you have to look at the photo side, right? And looking at the photo side of the camera, if the camera is designed for photographers, it still doesn't really stack up to what's out. Let's start with megapixels. The Canon EOS R5 offers 45 megapixels. And if I was a megapixel hungry photographer, I would go with the Sony A7R Mark IV. It offers up to 61 megapixels. So if resolution is something I was after, I still wouldn't pick the R5. When it comes to things like autofocus and eye autofocus, it's about dead tied between both two companies. In fact, Sony was the company to introduce and perfect eye autofocus. So their eye autofocus has been a little bit better. The thing that the R5 does lead in is shutter speed at 12 frames per second compared to the A7R for 10 frames per second. Now, the EOS R5 has the ability to go up to 20 when you do just an electronic shutter, but let's be real, I'm probably not using electronic shutter simply because the quality is not there, and it usually introduces a lot more rolling shutter. I have not had a chance to use it on the R5, so don't quote me on that. I just want to remain neutral. But if you strip away the video aspect of this camera and the thing that they're pushing most, you go to the website, it's a huge 8K, and you can't use it for that as a workhorse. Who is this camera for? I'm going to tell you who this camera for. And again, this is a very biased, middle of the lane opinion about this particular camera. It's just my opinion. The name of the camera should have been the Canon EOS CFB5. Stands for Canon Fanboy 5, because only people who are diehard Canon users can really justify buying this camera. This camera doesn't give you anything unique or new to the market outside of its ability to capture 8K for a very limited time. As far as the image side of things, it's not giving you something that Sony hasn't given you a long time ago. As far as video, it doesn't give you enough usable video to use it as a workhorse. Now, I'm thinking of people who use their camera to make a living. Those are the ones you have to go after and you have to service first, because those are the ones that are buying these cameras, multiple cameras. I like to have a camera on each arm. So whenever a new body come out, I'm typically buying 2 at a time. But this camera really doesn't go after the needs of professionals in a way where it is useful. I'm gonna tell you a company that's great at doing that. Apple. Apple sits back and lets Samsung come out with stuff first. Android will have all these crazy, unique eye retina scanning features that are half-assed, and then Apple roll in 3 years later with a solid version of something that Samsung may have thought of 3 years ago, but weren't able to really use it. Apple sits back and said, we're going to perfect it. We're going to put it out. And I think that's the move Sony did with the A7S compared to the EOS R5. The EOS R5 is just a glitter box for Canon fans to hold up and say, this is the ultimate camera, because on paper it does this, this, and this. Unfortunately, where I use cameras, which is the real world outside of YouTube, to actually go make a living, it's not the best in any of the categories I need to use on a daily basis. It's not the best photography camera. It's not the best video camera. So again, who would buy this camera? Only people who are diehard Canon guys would buy this camera. This is not a switch camera. Really good cameras make you switch brands. Really great cameras make you switch brands. The Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera made people switch brands. The C200, in my opinion, made people switch brands. The FX9 made people switch brands a little bit. There are some cameras that people said, I don't care what lenses I got, I'm going with that camera. And though this has been trotted out to be that, it's just not. If you're not a Canon user currently, would you consider this camera? And be honest. Canon users, you're probably looking at your lenses saying, oh, I have all these lenses. I don't want to switch. I get it. Even though half of your lenses are probably EF mount, which they'll mount to anybody, I'm going to let you keep that argument just to feel good. But for someone who has owned cameras from different manufacturers, I'm going wherever the best camera is. Just going to be honest with you. The R5 just doesn't cut it for me yet to go back to Canon. On paper, I thought it did. I'm not going to lie to you. I was really interested. And I hope the best for Canon. I want Canon to be successful, because we don't need just one company bullying other companies. We need 2 or 3 that are successful. So I want Canon to be successful. Unfortunately, this camera is not catered towards professionals. It's catered towards fanboys. This is the Canon EOS CFB5. I know it's going to be some Canon fanboys. It's going to hit me with the thumbs down. I get it. Anyway, I'll see you all in the next video.